I just did a video on the advantage of Jesus not being associated with a specific denomination or rabbinical school or anything like that, so he could represent God and who he actually is, and how I appreciate that I'm not associated with a particular denomination, so I can represent God and who I feel like he is. And at the same time, I do want to comment on the danger of us going off the rails and thinking that we're representing God, but not actually. And so I've talked about in other videos the safeguards that we can put in place for hearing God's voice. And it's the same with representing God. So I think there are safeguards in place, one being the Bible, knowing who God is according to the Bible, and if I or anyone else is going in a direction that is not in line with what's written down or the spirit of the Bible, that's a problem. And so it's also good for all of us to know the Bible so that we can judge that, so that we can be like the Bereans, who, when Paul was talking to the Bereans, he praised them because they weren't just believing what he said, but they were actually looking it up in the Word. Is this in line with what the scriptures say? And so we need to be like them, know the Bible. So that's one of them. And then another way to make sure we're not going off the rails is to be open to people that we respect in the faith and believe, trust their relationship with God, and be open to feedback from them. And similar to when we're hearing God's voice, submitting it to them and being like, does your spirit align with this as being from God? So similarly, I think it's good to be held accountable. So even though we're I'm not part of a particular denomination and that type of thing, I do have spiritual counselors, advisors, spiritual fathers, spiritual mothers that are speaking into my life and that I listen to. So I do think that is important, because we don't want to go off the rails and create, false religions, or go in ways that are not according to God's ways. And also, I just will throw out there that we are all individually accountable to God. So similar, in Romans, it talks about not judging each other based on what we eat. He gives the example of some people only eat vegetables, some people eat everything. Don't judge each other based on what you eat. Everyone will stand or fall before God individually. So we have responsibility for ourselves, and we are accountable to ourselves and before God. And so really it's good for us to have our own relationship with him. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that while there are advantages to not being associated with a denomination, because then there's more freedom to represent God as we're convicted individually of who he is, without having to teach what the denomination teaches, even if we don't think that's really biblical or part of who he is. There are safeguards to being part of a group too, being held accountable. And so we can still have those safeguards even if we are not being sponsored by a particular denomination. Just wanted to throw that out there.